and welcome everybody. I'm glad everybody could take some time today to join us. Um, as we talk about building world-class injury prevention strategy, a couple of things. Cheryl talked about where some of that information came from on the last slide. In addition, we work with over 100 companies every year. We have about 60 to 70,000 employee touch points a year. There's a lot of information that we gather. We do a lot of surveys of our clients, of the employees of our clients, as well as we go out, as Cheryl mentioned, into the industry and find information. So when we put this up there, it's based on what people are telling us, not what we're trying to tell you. We're just sharing this with you. So what you can see here, though, is there's a couple of themes that actually came out of all of our research. Let's talk about triage. There's a couple of different triages out there. You've got your nurse triage lines. And those aren't bad. Some of them have a 60, 70% success rate where they're keeping incidents within the first aid arena. Others, we've heard from clients, well, we're in the 25, 30, 40% range. At the end of the day, take a look at your triage lines if you're using one and really identify what you expect of them and lay out what you're really expecting from them to be able to resolve issues and keep them in first aid. One of the things that we've actually seen is there's a rise in a group that we work with, but there's other groups, of course, that athletic trainer triages. Because when you start looking at musculoskeletal type issues, strains and sprains, or hit by object, all those type of things, overexertion, those dynamics can normally be taken care of with an athletic trainer type person. Those are the type of people we put on site and stuff like this. But with this triage system, we're able to see about, this says 87%. Our clients are somewhere around 90% of the incidents are staying within first aid. What it allows for is early reporting, early movement, and better outcomes, keeping people on the job, as well as keeping those people healthy and keeping them being able to go home to their family and do other things. And then when you have an overall wellness, ergonomic culture, injury prevention culture, this type of system integrates with what you have on site, be it through your own systems or be it through a third party, somebody like us or somebody else. So having this type of triage, again, if you love nurse triage lines, great, utilize them. We've seen a shift that the athletic trainer triage may have a little bit more impact on you. Now let's talk about emotional ergonomics. Earlier this year, we published a white paper with two PhDs one was an expert in the mental health and wellness arena. Another one was an expert in suicide prevention on the job. And we published obviously our strength is in the area of ergonomics. So we published this white paper on emotional ergonomics, and I really do hope you all go to the website and just download it and read it. It's a non-commercial white paper. So please read through it because there's a lot of change here. And as you're starting to think about building your program for next year, the year after, and your 5-year strategy, emotional ergonomics, which is not a main term today, but it's starting to gain it's starting to build, right? And the reality of it is, if you look at that second line, 52% of all workplace injuries have an emotional or psychosocial root cause: stress, fear, burnout, pressure. Could be on the job, could be from at home, could be I have 2 jobs, could be financial uncertainty or in things that people are facing. And I think people have to start thinking about that. What does that mean? So doing physical pain and emotional pain they're signals. We see that people that are depressed have 3 times more likely to have physical pain, chronic pain. And so looking at that, doing stress audits and organizational emotional assessments, these are some tools that you could use to really start evaluating your organization. So when you do an ergonomic assessment, you're starting to incorporate the psychosocial issues. And when you start thinking about it, if I'm doing an ergonomic assessment of a machine, yes, we look at the pressure, the pull, the force on the body, but what is that doing to the person if they're doing that job for 8 hours a day? What's the emotional impact of that? And we have to incorporate that thought process in when you're evaluating your workflow designs, if you want to build a new plant and you want to automate some things, or you're just redesigning a workflow, you still start thinking about that. So the emotional ergonomics, I think, is a really great place to to start, and please download the white paper. It's really kind of Cheryl mentioned earlier that I'm all things total worker health. It's our core philosophy. And for those who don't know about it, go to NIOSH. It's not our system. Total worker health is a holistic view of looking at your organization from overall wellness, injury prevention, mental health, and it's a great framework for you to look at and start thinking about. We're a true believer in the total worker health concept. Now let's talk about technology. This has one particular technology. There's a lot of technologies out there. There's fatigue identification, there's wearable sensors, there's exoskeletons. All these things have a play. One area that really is starting to, I guess, maybe dominate a little bit more than the other areas of technology is in the motion capture. There's 2Ds, there's 3D programs, there's the various types of program. And what it really does is it really takes the guesswork out of somebody looking at body mechanics and saying, oh, geez, this person needs to be trained better, or they're working in confined spaces and you can see all the risk. These tools are awesome because what they do is they're great coaching tools. You're able to point your phone at somebody, click, scan a 10-second, 15-second video of them doing their job. You could show them immediately where they're off, what it looks like, do the corrections. We're all talking about 2 minutes here. Scan them again and show them how they've eliminated risk. We see a very significant reduction in risk. Also, when we start looking at it, and our team has actually validated, we don't go by what the technology partner tells us we do, but we also go and validate it through our own assessment work. You can utilize these as an ergonomic assessment tool when you start looking at a particular how people interact with the machines. Obviously, it's around the person, but how are they interacting with the machine if we're doing a workflow design? So we see about a 90 to 95% accuracy level and correlation between the observation and what the issue really is within the movement and the body style of it. So it gives you data. When you want to sell that, hey, we need to make a change here, you can accumulate the data. If you have 10 people working on in the same type of work area, doing the same type of jobs, you accumulate that data, you're able to present that to management, the operations people, and say, look, 8 out of 10 are having these type of issues. But I will tell you 70% of it can be probably addressed through behavioral changes. Great. 30%, you got some ergonomic changes and engineering changes and job rotation and administrative changes, things like that. The last thing, and I don't think this gets enough airplay, pain management. I talked about it a little bit earlier, chronic pain. There's somewhere around 100 million people in the United States, men, women, and children, that live and work and play in chronic pain. Having that same issue 12 weeks in a row. Having early symptom intervention really targets that area of fatigue, discomfort, before it becomes a real issue from a musculoskeletal standpoint. You're talking about 75 to 80% pain level reductions in just 4 15-minute sessions. It's non-OSHA-recordable. It's considered first aid or wellness, so you don't have to worry about it. But I do think people should consider, because again, if I'm doing a repetitive motion job, I can learn some body mechanics, but if it's really impacting my upper body or even my lower body, I'm going to build up pain and discomfort. How do you take it? You change your oil, you do preventative maintenance on your machines. You now have to do some preventative maintenance with your employees and start working with them. So this is a good framework to get started.